incredibly silent.
So how do you separate, like how do you communicate individually? Like does it all come at once, or how do I...
Again, the idea is that it's telepathy. It's like people being in love. If you're in love with someone, don't you know what they're thinking at the same time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, that's an example of what happens in our world all the time. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. We are always exactly where we need to be, when we need to be there, with whom we need to be, because we are all on the wavelength we need to be on, and those of similar wavelengths will know exactly what we're thinking and where we are, and will be there if there is need for them to be so. Make sense?
Yeah. And so is that kind of how the ship and
Yes.
you...
Synchronicity is one of the symptoms of the shift into fourth density. The idea is to elevate synchronicity to the level of an art. Make sense?
Yes.
That's what we have done.
So is it possible? Well, I guess it's possible, but...
Anything is possible. The question is never, is it possible?
Right.
The question is it relevant? Is it probable?
Is it relevant and probable for us to start practicing telepathy?
Absolutely. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have asked the question.
Do you have any tips on how to
I
practice
already
that?
gave you the biggest clue I could, didn't I?
Yes.
Be in love
Okay.
with life. Yes?
Yes.
When you're in love with all that is, you will be telepathic where and when you need to.
Awesome.
Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes.
And it isn't just awesome in the sense that there is some awe. It is full of awe, which makes it awful.
Awesome.
Just to play with your language a bit. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Hey, Bashar.
And you good day.
It's good to see you again.
Well, you're not really seeing me, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the last time we talked about...
Speak up, speak up.
The last time we talked about was Angkor Wat, and you mentioned when, and you didn't mention when, but could you tell me when it was built? The Angkor Wat building was built.
Your words are not translating. Repeat your statement.
When was the Angkor Wat built?
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat Temple.
You will find that construction was begun somewhere around the idea of 10,500 BC.
What was its purpose?
The idea of many of those things is to act as capacitors and energy generators for the idea of allowing people to get into a certain state that allows them to explore and express more of themselves.
Was life force energy ever used?
Life force energy exists in all of you. So of course it was used. Is that the way you meant that?
Yeah.
How can you not use life force energy?
It's everywhere, yeah. Let me see.
Are you
also
asking if life force energy was amplified by the structure?
Yes.
Yes.
How so? Is it
By the proportions.
the material, the minerals?
The material to some degree, but mostly the proportions. Because many of these ideas of temples and structures on your planet are built to what you call golden mean proportions. And that is the mathematical structure of how physical reality lays itself out. So when you build things with those kinds of proportions, you will then cause resonance to happen in certain ways that will build the energy up and amplify it to the purpose that the structure has been built for.
Was the whole temple made out of sea minerals? Sandstone?
Not completely, but mostly, yes.
Okay.
But again, it will depend upon what's available in the area. Adjustments may be made for the kind of material that needs to be used.
Was it ever used for metaphysical restoration?
What are you defining as metaphysical restoration?
Healing.
Yes.
Was it also used to activate the pineal gland?
Yes. In fact, activating the pineal gland or aligning the pineal gland activation is one of the strongest things that a lot of such temples were used for on your planet in your history. Because it was understood that pineal gland activation at certain frequencies allows you to actually commune with other dimensions very clearly.
So you're saying people that were depressed, having cancer, they would go to these temples and
Yes.
be cured from...
Yes, they would
And-
cure themselves
I see.
by allowing themselves to align with the vibration that was amplified in that temple. Now, sometimes the idea of the priests would allow themselves to also give off that frequency to create a resonance atmosphere, a resonance bubble, that if the person to be healed then allowed themselves to match that frequency, then they would heal themselves, yes. They would align themselves.
You mentioned before that the temple was made by the Khmer civilization, am I correct?
Yes, but I said that you don't really understand exactly what the Khmer civilization was.
Is Khmer pronounced today as Khmer in the Cambodian language?
You can ask a Cambodian.
Okay. You also mentioned that people were trained to raise their vibration and
As you are training yourselves right now.
to perceive architecture's proportions and dynamics. How so?
In a variety of ways. Do you have an interest in the idea of proportions and the resonant dynamics that attend those ideas of proportion?
Like the type of vibrational atmosphere that they had. Can you describe how it was?
It cannot really be described, it must be experienced. So if you will build a chamber out of whatever materials you are attracted to in the appropriate proportions that are representative of those golden means, you will have the experience yourself of what those vibrational resonances are like.
Okay. Were they
If that is exciting to you.
were the Khmer civilization had any connections to Atlantis or Sirius?
Both, to some degree,
Okay.
but also to what you would call Lemuria in ancient times. Or really, in their own language, Mu.
Mu.
Yes, Mu. Lemuria is a term that comes later in your history. It's not what they called themselves. They called themselves Mu.
I see. Were the Khmer civilization survivors of Atlantis?
There was some influx, but not as much. The idea, really, of the Atlantean spread was mostly to what you know as the North and South and Central Americas, and also to the idea of the Northern Africa, Mediterranean, and European theater. Eventually, some of the influence made its way across the Asian continents, but more it is the idea of a Muon connection.
I see.
Does that help you?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Yes. I recently showed you the cube
Yes.
before. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Well, you said it had connections to Sirius.
Yes.
I do practice these seashells
Yes.
on other people, and recently I had a person seeing a blue star.
Yes. Well,
Wait.
that's the vibrational color of Sirius,
I see.
the blue-white star.
He was also seeing an image of a lizard. Could you tell me more on that?
The idea is not exactly what you would call a lizard. There is a physical species that inhabits that system along with the non-physical consciousness that also is connected to that system. The physical species that inhabits that system that has visited your Earth in the past is a type of amphibious being, a little bit more closely resembling the idea of a salamander more than a lizard, but not exactly that either. So they had a slight interpretive difference in their perception of the being, but they were somewhat close. But it's not the idea of the reptilians that people are talking about on your planet.
I see. He also saw a reptoid. Could you...
No, I will not comment on that.
Okay. Also, there was other people, including myself, seeing formulas from when using the cube.
All right. So how do you wish to use that information? How do you wish to apply it in your physical reality?
Could you tell me more on these formulas?
No. You have to be the one to discover these things. This is your process. I'm not going to open your presents for you.
Are those
You
formulas...
must follow your excitement and your imagination and see where it leads. You must make your discoveries. It's your process.
I see.
We have already given you some information regarding the idea of clues that lead to resonant chambers that are certain proportions based on the idea of certain golden proportions. That's our clue. That's what we're allowed to give you. You must move forward and take that to whatever degree your imagination desires to discover the rest of the information regarding these formulas.
I see.
All right?
All right.
Then thank you.
Thank you.
There will be a brief amount of time remaining for this transmission.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
Thank you for everything. You've been
Thank you as well.
Great inspiration over the years. Couple of questions.
Yes.
You touched on the art of synchronicity
Yes.
earlier, and I guess got my mind and brain going. Is that kind of trying to?
Nothing is about trying.
Okay. Then, if you are synchronized with
Yes.
everything.
Which you always are, when we talk about the art of synchronicity, we're not saying you're not already experiencing synchronicity. The idea is to allow yourself to experience synchronicity in a particular way that is resonant and representative of the vibration you prefer. Everything is synchronicity. Because everything is one thing. Therefore, synchronicity is physical reality's way of showing you that everything is connected as one thing. It's up to you to utilize the nature and the structure of that idea of synchronicity in the way that is representative of your joy and your excitement and your preferred vibration in life. That's what we mean by using synchronicity as an art.
And at a higher level of synchronicity, a higher level of this art, would you then be able to kind of know your future, your outcome?
No,
No.
because again, the idea is the whole formula, yes, the whole formula, act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further, with zero insistence on the outcome.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
Then you allow yourself to simply experience the outcome, knowing that whatever the outcome is what it needs to be at that moment.
Excellent.
Yes? Because again, remember, your physical mind does not have the ability to actually know how something is going to happen. It's not designed to know that. Only your higher mind is. So the idea of visualization is all well and good, and you can have a visualization of what you would represent an outcome to be that is representative of a high outcome, a high vibrational outcome. But the visualization is only a symbol to get you into the state of being that is representative of the appropriate outcome. Once you have the state of being, once you have that excited energy about the so-called outcome, you have to let the visualization go and let your higher mind actually bring you the manifestation that is truly representative of the state of being that the symbolic visualization generated within you. That's how visualization works. You don't insist on the picture in the physical mind, because that may actually be limiting a better outcome, a more imaginative, more expansive and creative outcome that the higher mind could bring you. Make sense?
Makes sense. Excellent. Thank you.
Does that help?
That helps. I have one other question,
Yes.
kind of not relevant to this last question.
That's
but,
all right. Speak up, speak up.
You may have already been asked, but
I will
just
let
in
you
case,
know.
I was wondering if you could describe the physicality of the beings, of your
Yes.
physical beings. on your
We
planet.
are what you would call hybrid beings. We are on average about 5 feet of your height. We are relatively slender. Our skin is very pale, whitish. The idea is that our eyes are slightly larger than yours. Our noses, mouths, and ears are slightly smaller. Our heads are slightly larger. In that sense, do you understand this description?
Yes. Do you have hair?
I do not. Males do not. Females do. It tends to be white. There are exceptions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is that sufficient?
Very much so. Thank you.
Then we thank you. And we will, at this timing, extend our deep appreciation to you all once again for the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission. Please remember that when you talk about the idea of a cosmic awakening, that you are simply awakening into more remembrance of more of who you truly are, because you are the cosmos. You are all that is. And you are simply allowing yourself to awaken into more of who you are, and allowing yourself to recognize yourselves as cosmic beings, because that is who you are. So we thank you, our unconditional love to you all. We bid you all an exciting, creative, and synchronous good day.